Hi, this is Chantel, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about postmodernism and globalism and the visual and art aspect of it. We already looked at some of the philosophy behind postmodernism, and now let's take a look at how we see that in our contemporary culture. So, a few highlights from the videos and things to think about when it comes to postmodernism is that a big part of postmodernism is contradicting some of the views of modernism, um, recycling past themes in new ways, taking earlier concepts and playing with them, renovating them, changing them, mixing them up. We've got breaking barriers between high art, low art, and pop culture, which also brings about some of the questions of what is art. You know, is a soup can art? You know, where are those lines? At what point does something become art? And that's a big question within postmodernism. Also, in postmodernism, we see a lot of multimedia. We see mixing media, combining photography and painting, or sculpture and audio. And we also see mixing new media, including um, performance art, concept pieces, digital work, the internet, all of those kinds of things. And a lot of things in postmodernism are very much about addressing contemporary issues such as race, culture, gender, and really questioning things about human identity and how do we see ourselves. And postmodernism is often marked by subversive kind of ideas, um, challenging the norms and challenging our culture. So here's a couple of examples within architecture. We have here the Sony building, which was formerly the AT&T building in New York. It was built in 1984, and you can see that it has a pediment, very much like a Greek pediment, on top of a more Bauhaus kind of looking structure. Again, over here, and I don't remember which building this is, but it's in Chicago. And you can see that they took this kind of Greek Roman temple body here with the brickwork, and then they put on top this huge pediment with exaggerated acanthus leaves on the corners. And so it's kind of an out of proportion take on a Greek temple, um, sort of mixing those new and old ideas. This is Frank Gehry's architecture. Um, this is the concert hall, the Walt Disney Concert Hall, and you can see that this is really playing with new forms and different concepts of the idea that architecture doesn't have to look rectilinear. It's not, it's not made of brick and stone. It's metal and it's curvy and it's reflective, um, and it's different. So that's part of playing with it. Here's another juxtaposition of concepts and ideas of towers and different textures and large fanning that you would normally see as an interior structure now used as an exterior structure, and this kind of interesting conglomeration. And you'll see a lot of buildings of this style in current architecture. It's kind of the current trend in architecture. If you look at downtown Denver, you're going to see a lot of these kinds of buildings. So in the visual art area, we have a lot of pop art and commentary on artistic styles. So, like, these are a couple of pieces done by a man named Oldenburg, and there are several artists who work in this style. This one's in Philadelphia. I can't remember where the spoon is, but they're just huge representations of common objects, but large and out of place. This is Andy Warhol's tomato soup can, which is, again, kind of a commentary on, is it art? You know, is the Campbell's label an art piece or no? And then this is also Warhol, some pop art. He just took photographs of Marilyn Monroe and colorized them and made some visual variations on it. Again, to kind of comment on, you know, the figure and the icon and those ideas. Here we see a style that is known as hyperrealism. The artist is named Hansen, and his pieces are really pretty fascinating. He works in mixed media. He works in a lot of waxes and um, plastics and things like that to make human forms that are very, very realistic. He did a bunch of pieces that are life size, and then they're posed around in the exhibit area. He's also done some pieces that are out of scale, so like huge, huge figures or very tiny figures. But these sculptures are very realistic. They have hair, um, they have modeling in the skin tone, and they look very, very real. I actually got to see some of these up close, and they're quite fascinating. So moving on. We also have people who work with environmental art and large scale or different kind of pieces. These are two installations by a team called Christo and Jean-Claude. And what they do is, like in this one here, it's an island, a series of islands, and they surrounded them by fabric. And so these island pieces are out there in the water with the fabric around them. And it's installed for a period of time and then they're removed. They're ephemeral art that only lasts for a certain period of time. This one here, the Reichstag in Germany, they draped it with fabric and you know, did all the calculations and draped it in fabric, and it stayed draped for a few days and then it was removed. Um, this is a piece by Smithson. This is the stone jetty or spiral jetty in Salt Lake, and it is still around. Several people have been working to maintain it, but the idea is that it looks like it's part of nature, and also it um, is weathered and it gets worn as part of nature. We have Andy Goldsworthy on the right over here, and I'm not sure who did this piece, if it's a Goldsworthy or someone else. But Goldsworthy, and there's a video about him, he works in very ephemeral pieces. He arranges leaves, he arranges ice and pieces of wood in places that he knows are going to be destroyed by nature. And so like these are leaves in a pool of water. And if the wind blows, if the water shifts, then it changes. And that's part of it, is celebrating the beauty of the environment, but also realizing that it doesn't last. A few more ideas within old new combinations. Some of the things that we see in literature and in theater. For example, the musical Wicked is a new take on the Wizard of Oz story, as is The Wiz. They both look at the Wizard of Oz and with a new twist and with different changes. In Wicked, the Wicked Witch of the West becomes the heroic character. Ella Enchanted, you know, a new take on the Cinderella story. The Percy Jackson books are also new takes on old stories. We take the Greek and Roman mythologies and we view them through the vantage point of, teenagers and understanding that. The big hit musical Hamilton is also one of these old new combinations, which kind of, takes a look at the founding fathers and portrays them with, a multi-ethnic cast, and which both comments on the founding fathers and portrays them in a new and different way. Music. I've included the video of John Cage's 4 minute and 33 seconds. Um, Philip Glass, who does very minimalist music. Jazz is still, in many ways, it's still postmodern because it does comment and rearrange things of the past. PDQ Bach is kind of a fun tradition where it takes the idea of what if there was another Bach child and who wrote different music. Performance, postmodern performance, things like Blue Man Group is very postmodern. It comments on what we expect from performance. Pilobolus, the dance company, I've included a little video on them. They are about making sculptures with the body and using the body in new and different ways for dance. Cirque du Soleil takes the circus concept and changes it up quite a bit. We also have a lot of interactive exhibits and immersive theater in postmodern styles.